You know what's weird? We shame people for eating alone, but nobody questions why we're so uncomfortable with our own company. Think about it. You see someone sitting alone in a restaurant, and your first thought is, poor guy, no friends? But what if the real question is, why do you need someone there to feel okay? See, we've been taught that eating alone is sad, that it means something's wrong with you. But here's what nobody talks about. Some of the loneliest people I know, they're surrounded by others 24/7, constantly in groups, never alone. And some of the most content people, they eat alone by choice. Because real loneliness isn't about being physically alone. It's about being around people who don't actually see you. So what if eating alone isn't a red flag, but a green one? Here's what most psychology videos won't tell you. People who consistently eat alone usually fall into one of four psychological profiles. And each one reveals something deep about how their brain processes social energy, autonomy, and self-worth. But here's the thing. Not all of them are healthy. And that's what we need to talk about. Because the internet loves to romanticize everything. Oh, you're just an introvert. You're self-aware. But sometimes, the truth is more complicated than that. So stick around. By the end, you'll know exactly which type you are and whether that's actually serving you or hurting you. Profile 1. The sensory overload. Picture this. You're in the cafeteria. You finally got your food. You find a spot. You sit down. Then your coworker spots you. Hey, mind if I join? And your brain just screams. Not because you hate them, not because you're being rude, but because you've been on all day. Meetings, emails, small talk, smiling when you don't feel like it. And that lunch break, that was your one window to just exist without performing. Psychologically, these people experience what's called high sensory processing sensitivity. Their nervous system absorbs more information from their environment than the average person. Sounds are louder, emotions are heavier, social interactions are exhausting. So when they eat alone, they're not isolating, they're decompressing. It's like their brain needs to defragment, and silence is the only way to do that. If this is you, people probably think you're cold, distant, hard to connect with. But the truth? You're just operating on a different frequency, and there's nothing wrong with needing more quiet than most people. The world doesn't stop talking. You're just protecting your sanity. Profile 2. The energy protector. These people don't eat alone because they're overwhelmed. They eat alone because they're selective. Here's how you spot them. Ask them about something they care about, they'll talk for an hour, eyes lit up, fully engaged. But hit them with small talk? So, crazy weather, right? Did you see that thing on Instagram? They mentally check out. Not because they're rude, but because their brain literally doesn't register that as meaningful interaction. Psychologists call this social energy conservation. These people have a limited battery for social interaction, and they refuse to waste it on surface-level noise. They'd rather sit alone and save that energy for the 2 or 3 people who actually get them. And here's what's interesting. These aren't antisocial people. They're actually deeply social, but only in contexts that matter to them. They don't do performative friendship. They don't do loyalty out of obligation. They're intentional. And in a world full of fake connections, that's actually rare. If you're this type, people might say you're picky, stuck up, like you think you're too good for them. But that's not it. You just know what fills your cup and what drains it. And you stop pretending you don't know the difference. Now, before we go further, let me say something the algorithm doesn't want me to say. Not everyone who eats alone is some self-aware, independent thinker. Sometimes, people eat alone because they're genuinely struggling, isolated, depressed. And psychology content loves to romanticize that. Oh, you're just different. You're special. But sometimes the truth is, You need help, not validation. And knowing the difference between healthy solitude and harmful isolation, that's real self-awareness. We'll come back to that. But first, let's talk about the other two types. And real quick, if this is hitting different, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Not for me, but because it tells YouTube to show this to people who actually need to hear it. And subscribe if you haven't yet. We don't do surface level psychology here. We go deeper. All right, let's keep going. Profile 3, the Autonomy Guard. These people are simple to understand. They eat alone because they don't want to adjust. Think about what happens when you eat with a group. Someone's running late, so you wait. Someone can't decide what they want, so you wait. Someone eats slow, so you're stuck there. And the whole time, you're on someone else's schedule. But alone, you eat when you're ready. You leave when you're done. You check your phone. You stare into space. Nobody's watching. Nobody's judging. Psychologically, these people are autonomy-driven. That means control isn't just a preference. It's a core need. They don't like the feeling of being dependent on someone else's timing, even for something as small as eating. And here's the thing. This isn't about ego. It's about comfort. These people have learned that the price of constant compromise is losing yourself. So they protect their space, their pace, their vibe. If you're this type, people call you stubborn, difficult, set in your ways. But really, you just know what makes you comfortable, and you're not willing to sacrifice that to fit in. That's not a flaw. That's boundaries. Profile 4, the socially exhausted. This one's going to hit different. These are the people who used to be the life of the party. They used to eat with everyone, join every plan, show up to every hangout. But now, they're done. Not because they changed, but because they finally saw it. They saw the fake laughs, the forced energy, the conversations that go nowhere but drain you anyway. They realized that being surrounded by people doesn't mean you're connected. Psychologists call this social burnout. It's when your brain reaches a threshold where socializing stops being enjoyable and starts feeling like labor. And these people aren't depressed. They're not bitter. They're just tired. Tired of performing. Tired of showing up for people who wouldn't show up for them. So eating alone becomes their refuge. It's the one moment they don't have to be on. They don't have to laugh at jokes that aren't funny. They don't have to pretend everything's fine. They can just be. Now here's what people get wrong about this type. They think it's sad. They think it's giving up. But actually, it's evolution. These people stopped wasting energy on connections that didn't serve them. They stopped performing for people who didn't see them. And yeah, that means more meals alone, but it also means protecting their peace. Because being alone is better than being surrounded and still feeling empty. That's not sad. That's growth. But here's what I need you to understand. Not everyone fits neatly into these 4 categories. Sometimes you eat alone because you're actually isolated, struggling, dealing with something you haven't named yet. And the internet wants to validate everything. You're just introverted. You're self-aware. But sometimes, you're not thriving in solitude. You're hiding. And the difference matters. Healthy solitude feels peaceful. It recharges you. You choose it. Harmful isolation feels heavy. It drains you. You're stuck in it. So if you're eating alone and it doesn't feel like a choice, if it feels like you're trapped, that's not something to romanticize. That's something to address. And admitting that takes more courage than pretending you're fine. So which one are you? The sensory overload? The energy protector? The autonomy guard? The socially exhausted? Or maybe you're somewhere outside these categories entirely. Either way, eating alone isn't the problem, and it's not the solution. It's just a behavior, and behaviors reveal what's happening underneath. So drop your type in the comments, or just tell me if this made you think differently. And if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. We explore the psychology behind everyday behaviors, the stuff nobody really talks about. Like the video, it genuinely helps. The Thinking Brain, where curious minds come to understand themselves. See you in the next one.